Finance and Appropriations will come to order. This is the afternoon when we make public how we think we will best spend the taxpayers' hard-earned money. So we will have several reports from our different subcommittees on our best suggestions on how to spend it. But I want to start as I'm going to finish, and that is by thanking our remarkable staff. They are so dedicated, prepare so many options for us, are up literally all night, several nights during the last week. And we would not be able to put forward this budget without them. But you'll have an opportunity to give them a standing ovation at the end, okay?
It's just a warm-up.
We're warming up. But I want to thank you all for joining us today, and I want to assure everyone that the Virginia Senate will continue to work together, as we always have done, in a bipartisan fashion to build a budget that upholds our tradition of strong fiscal management. The Senate Finance and Appropriation Committee members have worked diligently to bring before you this afternoon our recommendations for amendments to the current budget, Senate Bill 29, and the proposed biennial budget, Senate Bill 30. In developing our recommendations, the committee focused on our commitment to Virginia's future. This meant prioritizing the people of Virginia while at the same time developing budget recommendations that are structurally balanced. Where there were options for one-time investments, we took them. Some examples include providing cash investments in capital outlay while reducing the amount of proposed debt and planning for a larger rainy day fund deposit in the second year. We believe these responsible actions will protect our AAA bond rating, which is a top priority for the whole committee. Our proposal includes deposits to the revenue cash reserves of $720 million between fiscal year 20 and 22. And when combined with the mandatory deposit to the rainy day fund of $112 million, our combined balance in savings will total $2 billion by the end of fiscal year 2022. With respect to planning for the future, this budget prioritizes our greatest asset, the people of the Commonwealth. Whether it be the creation of new jobs, rate increases for service providers in Medicaid, or salary increases for our teachers and employees. In some areas, we had to reallocate dollars in the introduced budget to provide for needed investments in compensation. This includes accounting for the historic increase in the minimum wage, additional targeted compensation for public safety officers, providing salary increases in the second year for teachers, state employees, state-supported locals, and higher education faculty. We also provide employee and teacher bonuses the first year of the budget. The recommended amendments to the budget also make needed investments in early childhood education, including the expansion of Virginia Preschool Initiative to at-risk 3-year-olds and funding to maximize mixed delivery partnerships. In higher education, we provide funding for student affordability for the G3 initiative, need-based financial aid, and the tuition assistance grant, all programs that will help our students be more successful in the future. In the area of health and human resources, the recommendations continue funding significant investments in community-based behavioral health services, such as permanent supportive housing, and improving services for individuals with developmental disabilities. Other recommendations include enhancements to the Medicaid program and improving rates to various providers, including personal care attendants. Additional priorities of committee members are reflected in the subcommittee reports that will follow. We will hear briefly from each subcommittee chair, and after the report has been presented, I will ask that the report and related amendments be adopted. After all the subcommittee reports have been issued, I'll ask that the introduced Senate Bill 29 be amended in accordance with the subcommittee reports, and that the bill as amended be reported. I'll then ask that the introduced Senate Bill 30 be amended in accordance with the subcommittee reports, and that the bill as amended be reported. Now that I've outlined the committee priorities and the process, I'll ask Senator Saslaw to provide the report of the K-12 Education Subcommittee. We do? We're not okay. All right. All in attendance, please record your vote.
You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and members of the committee. The subcommittee K through 12 has reviewed the governor's introduced budget for public education. We're pleased to present the report that fully funds the standards of quality re-benchmarking, fully funds it. Overall, our recommendations provide an increase in direct aid to localities for education, K through 12, of $596 million in FY 2021. Again, that's over the 2020 level. And then $738 million in FY 2022. Like I said, over the current FY 2020. That's an increase over the biennium of $1.3 billion. As you will recall, the introduced budget increased funding for the Virginia Preschool Initiative by $81 million, increased funding for at-risk students by $57 million, and provided $28 million for the state's share of additional instructors for limited English proficient students, which the subcommittee recommends maintaining. We suggested an additional $48 million to increase the state share of a teacher's salary increase from 3% to 4% in the second year. That's from 3 to 4%. We also recommend $123 million for the state share of a 3% bonus in the first year for teachers. So what we're going with is 3% this year and 4% next year. We propose $40 million for additional school counselors, which funds the state share of one counselor for every 300 students in all public schools in the second year. We've heard the concern of members regarding the condition of our school facilities. Therefore, we're recommending $27.5 million in each year to restore the school construction grants program, which provides grants to all school divisions to assist with the school construction, modernization of classroom equipment, or debt service payments. Other recommendations are that we've included almost $600,000 to incentivize Allegheny County and Covington, town of Covington, to achieve economies of scale operating as a joint division. Allegheny County's got 1,875 students. Covington's got 995, and it just makes sense, to merge the two. And $300,000 to support minority fellowships in early childhood classrooms. The subcommittee continues with its commitment to support and improve public education by devoting funding towards our teachers, which is extremely important, and investing in strategic ways to help our students succeed. I want to thank at this time Tyler Williams for the outstanding work he did in helping to assemble this, and the members of our subcommittee. I look forward to continuing our ongoing work regarding the future of K-12 here in the Commonwealth. Thank you all very much, and I would move its acceptance.
Okay, is there a second to the motion that the report and related amendments be accepted? It's been seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that report is accepted. Public safety, Senator Lucas.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. The Public Safety Subcommittee has reviewed the governor's proposed budget for the agencies of public safety and Homeland Security and Veterans and Defense Affairs. Overall, the subcommittee recommends a variety of amendments that redirects a portion of the $119 million general fund dollars included in the introduced budget to provide additional support for these agencies. Priority has been given to funding the compensation plan for the Virginia State Police to better attract and retain state troopers. The state police have over 220 vacant trooper positions, and currently another 350 troopers are eligible to retire this year. For such a critical agency that provides full-service law enforcement statewide, the subcommittee recommends fully funding a compensation plan that will stabilize the workforce and show our commitment to the state troopers who serve to protect us all each day. The Senate passed Senate Bill 972, patroned by Senator Edwards, that increases the motor vehicle registration fee to $4 this July 1st. The revenue from this increase will fund a $55 million compensation plan for the state troopers over the biennium. In the Department of Corrections, the recommendations result in a total of $63 million from the general fund for increased inmate health care costs, treating more inmates with hepatitis C, and fully funding electronic health records across correctional facilities. The subcommittee also recommends funding pilot projects with the UVA and VCU health systems to enhance the cost effectiveness of delivering health care to inmates. In addition, the subcommittee recommends $17.3 million general fund dollars over the biennium for the funding of local police departments. This reflects a 4.5% increase consistent with general fund revenue growth in this first year. In closing, I would like to thank the members of the Public Safety Subcommittee for the collaboration and leadership on this report. Madam Chair, this concludes the Public Safety Subcommittee report. I hope it will be the pleasure of the committee to adopt our amendments.
So we have a motion and a second. Good. That the report and related amendments be accepted. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Accepted. Thank you. Next is Senator Barker with Transportation.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, it's a great time to be chair of the Transportation Subcommittee of the Senate Finance and Appropriations Committee. After 27 years of not doing a whole lot and 27 years between major bills, we've been moving forward aggressively, collectively in the General Assembly, but also with the administration on things. Just in the last 3 years, we've addressed funding issues related to Metro, to some of the transit systems across the Commonwealth, to additional roadways in Virginia, and to dealing with the I-81 corridor and the interstate system. Your Transportation Subcommittee this year has reviewed the governor's introduced budget for the Transportation Secretariat. We endorse his recommendation to allocate funding among our multimodal transportation agencies from new revenues that will be realized as the result of legislation currently under consideration by the 2020 General Assembly. Our proposed amendments build on the steps already taken and increase accountability and oversight, such as of the nascent Virginia Passenger Rail Authority as it comes into existence in the coming years. As a result of actions the Senate has already taken this year, and accounting for the increased revenues assumed in the introduced budget, our proposed amendments allocate more than $700 million throughout Virginia, urban and rural, in a dynamic new transportation revenue across all of our major transportation agencies, including $350 million in critically needed highway construction and maintenance funding, $300 million in new funding for necessary investments in transit and rail programs, $30 million dedicated to address ongoing staffing and retention issues at the Department of Motor Vehicles, and additional revenues dedicated to the Port Authority, Spaceport, and aviation agencies. With this historic level of new funding and other proposals, including the new Passenger Rail Authority, the potential for major investments in offshore wind energy projects at the Port of Virginia. The subcommittee recommends that the legislature remain prudent stewards of these public investments. Accordingly, the subcommittee recommends that prior to the Commonwealth entering into long-term contractual agreements with private sector partners, proposals for investments in enhanced passenger rail capacity or for energy-related economic development initiatives be subject to thorough review by the MEI Project Approval Commission. Additionally, the subcommittee recommends that we begin planning today for the mobility needs of our future. We believe that now is the time to begin evaluating mobility options along the Route 1 corridor in an effort to assess the most cost-effective approaches for mass transit throughout one of our fastest-growing regions. We further recommend that the time to begin planning for additional passenger rail services, not only along Virginia's Golden Crescent corridor, but west to Roanoke and beyond, is now. Madam Chair, this completes the report of your Transportation Subcommittee, and I hope it will be the pleasure of the committee to adopt our amendments, and I so move.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded that the Transportation Subcommittee report and related amendments be accepted. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Senator Barker. Next is capital outlay with Senator Deeds.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, the Capital Outlay Subcommittee worked diligently to review the introduced budget as it relates to capital outlay and the overall level of debt authorization regarding the upcoming biennium. This year, the subcommittee's primary objective was to balance the capital outlay needs of all secretarial areas with the desire to sustain Virginia's long-standing practice of strong fiscal management. The subcommittee recommends reducing the proposed total amount of tax-supported debt by over $700 million for the 2020-2022 biennium and by almost $43 million from the proposed amounts in the current fiscal year. The subcommittee believes that many of the deferred items can be phased in over future years. Based on these actions, the subcommittee proposes a total of $1.7 billion for VCBA and VPBA tax-supported debt in the coming biennium, including $274 million for maintenance reserve projects for state agencies and institutions. $144 million of this total amount is from the general fund cash. Over $42 million for natural resources capital outlay. $108.5 million for equipment for projects coming online during the next 18 months. $22.1 million for projects related to the Tech Talent Initiative, and $13.2 million for general fund cash-supported planning projects. In addition, the subcommittee restricted the number of new projects that will be planned for the remainder of the biennium, redirecting $9.7 million from the general fund as an acknowledgement that we will need to address previously planned projects in the next biennial budget, and in an effort to also slow down the pipeline of future projects. New detailed planning projects included in these recommendations will not be allowed until the second year of the biennium, regardless of their source of funding. Madam Chair, this completes the report of the Subcommittee on Capital Outlay. I'd like to conclude by expressing my appreciation to the members of the subcommittee for their conscientious efforts in shaping these recommendations, and to April Keyes for her diligent work in helping us put all this together. And I would move acceptance of the report.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the report and related amendments be accepted. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Senator Deeds. Next is higher education, Senator Locke.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Your subcommittee has reviewed the governor's proposed biennial budget for higher education. This budget, with our recommended amendments, is focused on targeted student affordability and completion in our strong and diverse system of institutions across the Commonwealth. We endorse the following items: $96.7 million over the biennium for a new Last Dollar Plus Community College Workforce Initiative, G3. This program is focused on low-income students pursuing applied degrees in high-demand areas. Students can expect to earn 60% more after gaining these skills. The program will provide businesses with needed workers in skilled trades, healthcare, law enforcement, and early childhood education. We include $60.6 million for additional undergraduate need-based financial aid. We approve $14.5 million for new pilot affordability programs at Norfolk State University and Virginia State University. These programs can go beyond tuition support to also help students with the additional cost of attendance that are often barriers to completion. And we offer $13.3 million additional dollars for tuition assistance grants for students attending Virginia private colleges. Our prioritization of targeted student aid combined with strategic support for all institutions is what is needed over the long term to meet our education attainment goal of being the best educated state by 2030. The subcommittee recommendations attempt to reflect the differences in mission and market of our institutions and to meet our fiscal charge to efficiently allocate limited state general fund dollars. One size does not fit all. State funding for across-the-board tuition freezes, while simple, often simply perpetuates the past. Our recommendations instead provide, along with student aid investments, tuition autonomy to boards of visitors, more enrollment management, flexibility, the annual tech talent commitments, and base operating support, with focus this year on institutions that serve more Pell-eligible students. I want to thank members of the subcommittee for their collaboration and support on putting together this report. We hope it will be the pleasure of the committee to adopt our amendments, and I so move.
It's been moved and seconded that the report and related amendments be accepted. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Senator Locke. Okay, Senator Peterson, General Government.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, your subcommittee has reviewed the provisions of Senate Bills 29 and 30, the budget bills as introduced for those portions of the budget that fall under the Subcommittee of General Government. The areas contained within general government are expansive, touching numerous secretariats and dozens of agencies. In this brief report, I will highlight a few of the key issues in the areas of the Legislative Department, the Judicial Department, Administrative, and Central Appropriations. Under the legislative agencies, the subcommittee prioritized both physical and cyber security as well as workload and staffing issues for several legislative agencies. In the Judicial Department, an additional $3.9 million is provided in each year to increase the number of and pay for general district court clerks. This appropriation will be offset by a $6 increase in civil filing fees in the district courts, which have not been adjusted since 2011. In addition, within the Virginia State Bar, $2 million is provided in each year for 14 additional civil indigent defense attorneys and to increase the pay of legal aid attorneys to $51,000 per year. In the area of administration, the subcommittee endorsed several initiatives contained within the introduced budget, including proposals to increase staffing and pay for various constitutional officers and state-supported local employees, including sheriffs, circuit court clerks, Commonwealth attorneys, and regional jail officers. In the area of central appropriation, the $200 million the governor included for uncommitted contingencies, as well as $146 million for a reinsurance program, were redirected to address several priorities identified by the subcommittee. Among those priorities was employee compensation. In addition to targeted compensation initiatives to provide bonus and pay increases to adjunct faculty and sheriffs and their staff, an additional $226.8 million is being used to provide a 3% bonus for all state employees on December 1, 2020, and a full year, second year, 3% raise for state employees and state-supported local employees effective July 1, 2021. Madam Chair, this completes the subcommittee on general government.
Thank you. Is there a motion? It's been moved and seconded that the report and related amendments be accepted. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's accepted. Next, Senator Marsden, Economic Development and Natural Resources.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. First off, I want to thank April Keyes and her amazing staff, and particularly Charles Kennington and Jason Powell, who ushered me through my maiden voyage as chairman of this subcommittee. So I thank you all. Your subcommittee has carefully reviewed the governor's introduced budget for the Secretariats of Agriculture and Forestry, Commerce and Trade, and Natural Resources. The subcommittee recommends investments that increase Virginia's attractiveness as a place where businesses will locate, innovate, and thrive, while also ensuring that Virginia's workforce has increased access to affordable housing. The subcommittee embraces our shared commitment to environmental stewardship and supports continued investments in cost-effective agricultural best management practices that improve the long-term health of our beloved Chesapeake Bay. In the area of economic development, the subcommittee faced the difficult challenge of reallocating funding from underutilized programs to make investments in developing business-ready sites, upholding the Commonwealth's commitments to projects endorsed by the Major Employment and Investment Project Approval Commission, the MEI, and increasing investments in oversubscribed programs with a proven track record of success. The subcommittee's recommendations also include establishing the Virginia Innovation Partnership Authority, and we endorse the governor's proposal to increase funding for increased broadband coverage across the Commonwealth. The subcommittee believes these investments will pay off quickly by supporting more research, commercialization, and attracting additional high-paying jobs and capital investments throughout Virginia. We further propose significantly increasing deposits to the Housing Trust Fund that, when combined with other investments in housing affordability, will ensure Virginians have safe and affordable housing opportunities. In the area of natural resources, your subcommittee focused on making meaningful investments toward compliance with the Chesapeake Bay Watershed Implementation Plan by dedicating an additional $29.3 million to the Water Quality Improvement Fund in fiscal year 2021. When combined with the $47 million in FY statutory deposit included in the governor's introduced budget, your subcommittee recommends a one-time deposit of $76.3 million, which is $2.5 million greater than last year's record-setting deposit. Additionally, the subcommittee maintains a commitment to land stewardship and prioritize investments in natural resources-related life, health, and safety issues. Specifically, we recommend a total biennial investment of $15 million in land conservation, almost double the current level, and dedicate $20 million for the repair and rehabilitation of high-hazard dams owned by Virginia's soil and water conservation districts. While your subcommittee does recommend some targeted spending reductions in line with the committee's broader objectives, we believe our targeted reductions will allow natural resources agencies to phase in the hiring of additional staff at a manageable and predictable pace. And we remain committed to continuing to increase environmental regulatory staffing throughout this and the next biennium. We hope it will be the pleasure of the committee to adopt our amendments, and I so move.
It's been moved and seconded that the report and related amendments be accepted. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Senator Marsden. Next, we have Senator Hanger. Senator Hanger and I co-chair the Health and Human Resources Committee, and he's presenting our report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair and members of the committee, today I'm pleased to provide the report of the Health and Human Resources Subcommittee. The subcommittee has reviewed the governor's budget for the agencies in health and human resources. The governor's proposed investments in behavioral health, developmental disability services, and child welfare. The subcommittee adopts much of that funding, but builds on those resources to continue making significant investments in community behavioral health services, ensuring individuals with developmental disabilities are served in the most integrated settings, and further enhancing our Medicaid program to better serve those enrolled, including the expanded population, which is close to covering nearly 400,000 additional Virginians. With regards to serving individuals with developmental disabilities, I will note that the Commonwealth is coming up on the end of its 10-year settlement agreement with the U.S. Department of Justice. It is a remarkable achievement that the Commonwealth has invested so much in improving our community-based services, and in June of this year, we will close the fourth and last training center scheduled to be closed that was part of the original plan. There is still work to be done in enhancing services to provide greater opportunities for individuals to live in the most integrated settings. As such, the recommendations before you are part of a total package of $93 million in this budget to provide a much-needed increase in provider rates and additional 500 waiver slots in the second year. I'm also pleased to report the amendments before you result in $138 million of total funding in the budget for community-based behavioral health services. These amendments will result in the Commonwealth doubling its funding for permanent supportive housing. By the end of the biennium, over 2,000 Virginians with serious mental illnesses will have access to stable housing. In addition, $10 million is provided for two-year pilot projects with health systems to explore alternative strategies to divert temporary detention order, TDO admissions, from state psychiatric hospitals. The subcommittee considered the proposal to use supplemental Medicaid payments to divert TDOs. However, its impact was too uncertain, and the urgency of the situation requires pursuing immediate projects that will likely reduce the census pressure on our state psychiatric hospitals. The subcommittee recommendations include additional investments to raise Medicaid reimbursement for personal care, adult day health care, residential psychiatric facilities, and nursing homes. In addition, the subcommittee recommends adding an adult dental benefit to Medicaid to better promote the overall health of low-income Virginians. Lastly, I will note that the subcommittee considered the proposal to establish a reinsurance program in the individual insurance market. While this strategy can assist in reducing insurance premiums, other critical priorities across the budget required the use of those resources. The subcommittee will continue to evaluate such a program going forward. As I conclude, let me thank the members of the subcommittee for their hard work and the time they invested to put this report together, which was a lot of time. I sincerely appreciate the contributions and efforts of each member of the subcommittee to create this report. And that, of course, includes Senator Howe, who is the co-chair of this particular subcommittee, Senator Barker, Deeds, Vogel, Eben, and McClellan, who put in a lot of time. And, of course, Mike Tweedy, our staff person, who spends a lot of hours and has a capacity to address a lot of our desires and suggestions. In fact, he always tells us we can do that, but you can tell by the inflection of in his voice whether or not we really should do that. With that, Madam Chair, I conclude my report of Health and Human Resources, and I hope it will be the pleasure of the committee to adopt our amendments, and I so move.
It's been moved and seconded that the report and related amendments be accepted. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? They're adopted. Our last report is the resources report, and if you look at that, you will see it's a spreadsheet. And it's a spreadsheet that incorporates changes in revenues and transfers and the like. If anyone has a question, April was prepared to answer, or I would accept a motion to report as we did the others.
I'll move we report the resources report.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the resources report and related amendments be accepted. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay. Now that we have all the subcommittee reports, we need to have a motion that the introduced Senate Bill 29 be amended in accordance with the subcommittee reports.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. And then the next, that Senate Bill 29 be amended, as amended, be reported.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 29 be reported. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Good. It's reported. And then that is a recorded vote. You are right. Thank you. Please record your vote.
16 ayes, 0 nays.
16 ayes, 0 nays. The Senate Bill 29 is reported. Then Senate Bill 30 We need a motion to amend it in accordance with the subcommittee reports. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. And now we will record that the bill as, go ahead.
I was going to say, I move that Senate Bill 30 as amended be reported.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, record your vote. Aye. Opposed, nay.
16 ayes, 0 nays.
16 ayes, 0 nays. The bill's reported. Thank you, committee. I know you've all worked just tremendously hard. And as I said in the beginning, let's give our staff a standing ovation. And with that, the committee is adjourned.